1. Working of the Constitution. The textbooks of political science till now have helped us to take an overview of local government, the values, and the philosophy of the Indian Constitution, as also the governing structures created by the Constitution and India's place in international relations. The Indian Constitution has declared its objective to establish a secular, democratic republic. Also, it has made extremely important provisions to ensure that the citizens get justice and their freedom is protected. The Indian Constitution is seen as the means through which a progressive developed society based on social justice and equality will be established. The Constitution came into force on January 26, 1950, and since then the government has been working in accordance with the principles of the Constitution. In this chapter, we will take a brief overview of the wide-ranging nature of Indian democracy, important changes that have taken place in its political process and steps that have been taken to establish social justice and equality. This review will primarily focus on three areas: 1. Democracy, 2. Social justice, 3. Judicial system. Democracy. Political maturity. Democracy does not merely imply a representative structure. The essence of representative system is to integrate the principles of democracy in actual practice. Once this is done, democracy becomes an integral part of the political life of the society. Accordingly, the Indian people have direct representation in the parliament, state legislature, and local government. Holding free and fair elections at regular intervals is an important indicator of India's successful democracy. The increasing participation of the people in the political process and political competition shows that Indian democracy has become successful to a great extent. Right to vote. The Indian Constitution had made the provision of right to vote for adults. In the pre-independence period, several provisions existed which restricted the right to vote. All such provisions were cancelled after independence, and the Indian Constitution guaranteed adult suffrage by giving the right to vote equally to both men and women above the age of 21 years. The voting age was later reduced from 21 to 18, which gave opportunity of political participation to the young generation in India. Such provisions have made India the largest democracy in the world. India has the largest number of voters compared to any other democratic nation. This change is not only quantitative but also qualitative, as new political parties are emerging with the active support of young voters. These parties represent various expectations of people and compete in the political sphere. Decentralization of democracy. Decentralization of power is central to democratic government. Decentralization controls the misuse of power and also creates opportunities for political 69 participation for the common people. The directive principles of state policy include the provisions for democratic decentralization. One such important provision is regarding empowering the local self-government, make genuine democratic governance a reality. After independence, several attempts were made towards democratic decentralization. One such important attempt is the 73rd and 74th Amendment to Indian Constitution, which gave a constitutional status to local self-governing institutions and also increased their powers. Ensure transparency and accountability, which are the hallmarks of good governance. Right to information has made the government more transparent and has reduced the element of secrecy in the working of government. After the year 2000, the whole approach towards democratic reforms has changed. Democratic reforms are considered as rights of citizens. Accordingly, citizens in India have got right to information, education, and food security. These rights have strengthened democracy in India. Can you tell the reasons for the following changes? Some seats are kept reserved for women to increase their participation in political process. Some seats are kept reserved for weaker sections of the society so that they can get a share in political power. The State Election Commission has been established. The 11th and 12th schedule was added to the Constitution. Do you know? Rights-based approach. In the decades after independence, progress was made towards more and more democratization of India. However, in this process citizens were considered as beneficiaries. In the last few decades, development is considered as the right of the citizens. In your opinion, how will this approach change the relations between the government and citizens? Right to information, RTI 2005. Citizen empowerment is the essential condition of democracy. It is necessary to create opportunities for citizens' participation and interaction with the government. Increased communication between citizens and government helps in strengthening democracy and in building a relationship of trust between them. Citizens have a right to know about the functioning of the government. The Government of India gave the right to information to the citizens of India to discuss. Do you think that citizens in India should have the right to employment? According to you, if everyone gets the right to shelter, how will it affect democracy in India? Social justice and equality. Social justice and equality are the important objectives of our Constitution. The Constitution has given the guidelines 70 to establish a new society based on these two values. We are following the path laid down by our Constitution to achieve this goal. To establish social justice is to remove those social conditions which are responsible for injustice and insist on the equality of dignity for all individuals. The principles of justice and equality aim at ending discrimination in social status such as superior or inferior on the basis of caste, religion, language, and gender, place of birth, race, property, and giving equality of opportunity for development to every individual. To establish justice and equality, efforts are to be made at all levels of society. But the government's efforts and policies on this front are more important. For democracy to be inclusive, one must try to bring all sections of the society into the mainstream. Democracy is in fact a process of accommodating different sections in society. Democracy helps in reducing social conflicts. Let us take review of the efforts made in India in this direction. Policy of reservation of seats. Policy of reservation of seats is meant for those sections of society who have been deprived of the opportunities for education and employment for a long period of time. Accordingly, in educational institutions and in government services some seats are kept reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. There is also a provision of reservation of seats for other backward classes. The Scheduled Castes and Tribes, Prevention of Atrocities, Act, this is an important act for establishing social justice and equality. This act prevents any injustice against the people belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, and any act of atrocity committed against them is liable for punishment. Do this. Read the provisions of the above law. Try to understand them with the help of your teachers. What efforts should be made to prevent atrocities? Provisions for minorities. The Indian Constitution has made several provisions for the protection of minorities. The government has adopted several policies for minorities to provide them the opportunities for education and employment. The Indian Constitution prohibits discrimination on the basis of caste, religion, race, language, and region. This is a comprehensive provision for minorities which fundamentally protects their right to equality, freedom, right against exploitation, and cultural and educational rights. Laws relating to women and provisions for representation. In the post-independence period, efforts were made for empowering women. Taking into consideration the problems of women, several policies have been adopted at national and international level to remove illiteracy among women and to make available opportunities for their development. The right to have an equal share in the property of the father and husband, Dowry Prohibition Act, Act Against Sexual Harassment, Domestic Violence Prohibition Act are some important provisions which create a favorable environment for protection of freedom of women and securing their development. 71. In our country, from the very beginning, a National Commission for Women have inadequate representation in been established. Similar commissions also politics and political institutions. Many exist at the state level. Countries in the world have made efforts to increase representation of women. From this perspective, changes are taking place in India as well. The 73rd and 74th Amendment reserved 33% of seats for women in local self-governing institutions. This percentage has been raised to 50% in several states including Maharashtra. The Act for the Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence is an important step in the direction of democracy. This act underlined the need to protect the dignity and self-esteem of women. This act rejected traditional forms of domination and authoritarianism and expanded the scope of Indian democracy to make it inclusive in true sense. Do this. The representation of women in Lok Sabha No. Year 1. 1951 to 52 2. 1957 3. 1962 4. 1967 5. 1971 6. 1977 7. 1988. 1984 9. 1989 10. 1991 11. 1996 12. 1998 13. 1999 14. 2004 15. 2009 16. 2014 No of women MPs 22 22 31 29 28 19 28 43 29 39 40 43 49 45 59 66 percentage 4.50% 4.45% 6.28% 5.58% 5.41% 3.51% 5.29% 7.95% 5.48% 7.30% 7.37% 7.92%, 9.02%, 8.29%, 10.87%, 12.15%. Read the chart and answer the following questions. In which election year the number of women MPs is minimum? In which election year the number of women MPs is maximum? Prepare a pie chart/bar chart with the help of the information given in the chart of the women MPs in the Lok Sabha elections, 1951 to 2014. What do you think? The visibility to women is very low in public life. If family structure, social surrounding, economic sector, political sphere become more open, women will get a chance to participate in the decision-making process that can provide a different direction to politics. For this purpose, women's participation should be increased in the representative institutions. Role of judiciary. The judiciary in India has played an important role in strengthening democracy and helping to make towards achieving the objectives of social justice and equality. While interpreting the provisions of the Constitution, the judiciary has always taken into consideration the fundamental objectives of the Constitution and also the intentions of the Constitution makers. We will try to understand the contribution of the judiciary in this regard with the help of following points. 72. 1. The basic framework of the Constitution. The Constitution is dynamic. It is a living document. The Constitution has to change according to changing conditions and the Parliament has a power to make those changes. The judiciary has accepted this power of the Parliament to make changes in the Constitution but at same time specified the limitations on this power. The judiciary has taken a stand that the Parliament while amending the Constitution cannot alter the basic structure of the Constitution. Please understand. The basic structure of the Constitution generally includes following provisions. Republican and democratic form of government, federal structure of the Constitution. Promotion of unity and integrity of the nation, sovereignty of the nation, secularism and supremacy of the Constitution. This is important to understand. Democracy requires good governance or best governing practices. Following are the features of good governance. What should be done to bring good governance in democracy? Accountable/responsible government, effective and efficient government, responsive government, transparency in working of the government, just and all-inclusive development, people's participation in the governing and decision-making process. Please understand. Find out the judgments given by the Supreme Court on the above subjects in recent years and discuss them. 2. Significant judicial decisions. The protection provided to the citizens by fundamental rights in the Constitution has been made more meaningful through various decisions of judiciary. Some of the important subjects on which the court has given judgments include rights of children, protection of human rights, protection of the honor and dignity of women, individual freedom, and tribal empowerment. These efforts have made the political process in India more mature. In this chapter, we took a review of the Constitution and the working of the government on the basis of the Constitution in the context of Indian democracy. There are many challenges before India's democracy. Government's acts and policies have not put an end to all the problems. There are several new problems confronting us. However, what is important is that the people in India have developed a democratic mindset. In the next chapter we will study the election process in India. 2. The electoral process. Elections have played a major role in the working of India's democracy. Elections and representation are two very important processes in democracy. We know that people's representatives are selected through elections. Elections help to bring a change in power through peaceful means. Different political parties get an opportunity to rule. Policies of the government and life of society also changes. We expect that the representatives we elect should be efficient, honest, and trustworthy, and that they should respect the opinion of people. The electoral process should also be free, fair, and reliable. To ensure that, the Constitution of India has made provision for an independent election commission to administer the election process in India. The Election Commission of India and the state-level state election commissions conduct all important elections in our country. The entire process of elections, from declaring the date of elections to the declaration of results, is carried out under the direction and control of Election Commission. The election process is an inseparable component of a comprehensive democratic process. In this chapter we will understand the structure, functions, and role of the Election Commission. We will also discuss the reforms required to be made in the electoral process. Election Commission in India. The Election Commission is central to the process of elections. Art. 324 of the Indian Constitution has established this autonomous body, which consists of one chief election commissioner and two other commissioners. Do you know? What is representation? Modern democracy is a representative democracy. In a democracy, it is not possible to involve the entire population in the decision-making process. This resulted in the starting of the practice of electing some people on behalf of entire population as representatives who would run the government. The representatives who form the government are expected to be responsible to the people and give preference to the welfare of the people. Do you know? Sukumar Sen was the first chief election commissioner after independence. In 1921, Sen was selected for Indian civil services under the British rule. He was given the charge of the election commissioner after the election commission was established in 1950. Sukumar Sen. Mr. Sen efficiently handled the responsibility of the election commission in extremely adverse conditions. 75. The President appoints the election commissioners. The chief election commissioner cannot be removed from his post easily or on account of any political reasons. This is necessary so as to preserve the independence of election commission. There is a separate provision made for the expenses of election commission. The election commission does not have a separate staff. Government officers, teachers, and other employees help the election commission to execute the process of elections. Do you know? Special campaign to create awareness among voters is run for voters' registration. The National Voters' Day is celebrated for the purpose. Functions of Election Commission. 1. Preparing the voters' list. Every Indian citizen who has completed 18 years of age has a right to vote. To exercise the right to vote, citizen's name must be in the voters' list. It is the responsibility of the Election Commission to prepare the list of eligible voters, update the existing voters' list, and include the names of new voters. The Election Commission has the authority to issue identity cards to the voters. Why is it required? When candidates have only the condition of age as eligibility, why should they give other information to Election Commission? Why are the candidates required to give the information of their property to Election Commission? 2. Decide the timetable and the program of elections. The conduct of elections is entirely the responsibility of the Election Commission. The Election Commission decides when to conduct elections and in how many stages to hold elections in every state. 3. Scrutiny of the applications of candidates. After the election dates are declared, every political party selects the candidates to contest elections. Some candidates contest the elections independently without the support of any political party. Candidates of political parties as well as independent candidates have to fill the applications, which include the information about their own self. The Election Commission scrutinizes all the applications and allows the eligible candidates to contest the elections. 4. Give recognition to political parties. We have a multi-party system in our country. New parties continue to be. Can you tell? What criteria are laid down by the Election Commission for giving recognition to political parties? Why is it so? Some constituencies are kept reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Every political party has an election symbol. At the time of voting and counting of votes, the official representatives of political parties remain present. Recognized parties have equal opportunity to present their side before media such as television and radio. 76 formed. Split in the parties results in the formation of new parties. All political parties are required to be recognized by the Election Commission. Election Commission also has a right to derecognize any political party. The Election Commission also allots election symbols to the political parties. 5. To resolve any disputes relating to elections, the Election Commission has the responsibility of resolving any disputes that may arise regarding elections. Accordingly, to declare any candidate as disqualified or conduct re-election in a particular constituency is the responsibility of the Election Commission. Please understand, voting is our duty as well as a responsibility. Government has to observe the code of conduct declared by the Election Commission. Who is superior? The government or the Election Commission? Which two conditions among following is the violation of code of conduct? Asterisk. The candidate distributes items of household use. Asterisk. Promise made to resolve the water problem if elected. Asterisk. To go from door to door to meet voters and request them to vote. Asterisk. To appeal on the basis of caste and religion to get support. Which of these rules would you include in the code of conduct for voters? Remember this. Shamsharan Negi from Himachal Pradesh was the first voter of India. He exercised his right to vote on October 25, 1951 in Lok Sabha elections. 77 Process of elections. Establishment of constituencies. Finalizing voters list. Nomination of candidates and scrutiny of their nomination forms. Election campaign. Actual voting. Counting of votes. Results of elections. Resolution of disputes regarding elections. Restructuring of the constituency. The total number of members in Lok Sabha is 543. How are these members elected? Every member represents one constituency. It means there are 543 constituencies of Lok Sabha. Creating constituencies is the responsibility of the Delimitation Commission of Election Commission. The Delimitation Commission does not succumb to any pressure while restructuring the constituencies. What is a code of conduct? To ensure free and fair elections in India, the Election Commission has adopted several measures. The Code of Conduct is one of the measures adopted by the Election Commission. In the last few decades, the Election Commission has used its powers to control malpractices during elections. The Code of Conduct explains the rules that are to be followed by the government, political parties, and voters before elections and during elections. Even the government cannot violate these rules. Due to the strict observance of the Code of Conduct in the last few elections, the common voters have become confident. Challenges in conducting free and fair elections. If we take into account the size of our country and the number of voters, conducting elections becomes a truly challenging task. The Election Commission has to work in accordance with the law while dealing with these challenges. Some of the challenges are mentioned below. Misuse of money takes place to a great extent during elections. The Election Commission has to take several measures to stop such a misuse of money. Many political parties give election tickets to the candidates with criminal background. This results not only in criminalization of politics, but the Election Commission also faces problems in ensuring that elections are conducted in free environment. Another major challenge is violence during elections. The extent of violence has increased significantly during Do You Know? At the time of first elections, preparing the voters list was a challenging task. As many people were illiterate, the special procedure of voting was used during elections. 20 lakh steel boxes were made for voting purpose. Election symbols were stuck on the boxes. The voters were given the blank ballot papers which they were supposed to drop in the box having the election symbol of the party they wanted to vote for. This system ensured that even the illiterate people could vote. 78 Elections. All political parties should help the Election Commission to control this violence. To retain a continuing influence on politics, leaders give election tickets to their own relatives. This practice creates a family monopoly in politics. Think. How political parties suffer due to family monopoly in the party. What do you understand by the system of one vote one value? Electoral reforms, elections is a continuous process. The future of democracy depends on elections. Electoral process becomes reliable if election process gets improved. Some reforms are suggested below. What will be its effects according to you? To increase participation of women in politics, the political parties should give 50% candidature to women candidates and try to ensure that they get elected. Political parties should not give candidature to candidates having criminal background. They should strictly follow the decision given by courts in this respect. The government should take care of election expenses. To ensure that parties will not make misuse of money and mismanagement of money during elections can be stopped. Representation of the People's Act should be amended so that candidates having criminal background would not be able to participate in elections. Journey from ballot boxes to EVM machines. The first election in independent India was held in 1951-52. This was the beginning of shaping of democracy through electoral politics. In the initial elections, ballot boxes were used for the purpose of voting. The use of EVM machines started from the decade of 1990s. Many things could be achieved because of voting machine. If the voters do not want to vote for any candidate, they could choose an option of none of the above, nota. It has become easy for disabled people, Divyanga, to vote. It reduced the cutting of trees for paper and thereby helped in the protection of environment. It has also been possible to have an early declaration of election results. 79 Please understand. General elections, Lok Sabha elections held after every 5 years are called general elections. Midterm elections, if the elected government loses its majority before completing its term in the parliament, or if the parties of the coalition government withdraw their support resulting in the loss of majority support for the government, and if no alternative government is possible, then elections are held before the completion of the term. They are called midterm elections. By-elections, if an elected representative in Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha, or the local self-government resigns or due to his/her death his seat becomes vacant, the elections are held for that vacant seat. This is called a by-election. Do you know? Election Commission established an expert committee on October 8, 2010. It was decided to add a new facility, voter-verified paper audit trail in EVM machines. All political parties supported this. Because of this facility, the voters can verify whether the vote cast is registered properly. The purpose of this important step is to stop malpractices in elections. In this chapter we studied the electoral process from various angles. In the next chapter we will study the political parties in India. 3. Political parties. In the last chapter we studied the working of constitution and election procedure. Political parties are a link that connects common people, democracy, representation, and elections. Whatever we read or hear about politics is related to political parties. Political parties exist in all democratic systems. In fact, political parties compete with each other only in a democracy. In this chapter we will study the political party system in India. In your school and the surroundings you must have seen some groups, institutions, organizations working to achieve some objective. Some organizations take initiative in resolving social problems. You may have read about the various movements and their work. Just as there are active groups, institutions, and movements, similarly there are political parties who contest elections. Political parties are also a kind of social organizations, but there is a difference between political parties and other institutions and organizations in society. The difference is in the goals and style of working of political parties and other organizations. On this background, we can say that when people form organizations with the objective of achieving political power and participate in the electoral process, such organizations are called political parties. Political parties thus can be described as a group of people who aim to contest elections, win elections, and get power and establish the government of their party. Following are some important characteristics of political parties. To be in power. Achieving power through elections is the main objective of political parties. Thus different political parties compete with each other to get power. There is nothing wrong in this competition, but the competition should be fair. To pursue an ideology, every political party has some policies and worldviews. Parties have a particular stand about social issues. These together make party ideology. The people who consider any specific party ideology as acceptable support that political party. Social support received by a political party is called the mass base of political party. In modern days, ideologies of all political parties appear to be similar, hence it has become difficult to differentiate between the parties on the basis of ideologies. To have a party agenda, political parties prepare their party's agenda on the basis of party ideology. They implement the agenda after they get political power. Even if they do not get political power, political parties try to get support of people on the basis of this agenda. To establish a government, political parties establish the government and govern the nation. The political party which gets majority in elections forms the government. The parties which do not get majority act as opposition parties. To act as a link between the government and the people, political parties work as a link between the 82 government and the people. Political parties communicate the demands and complaints of the people to the government. The government tries to get support of the people for its policies and programs through political parties. What do you understand by the following news in newspapers? Explain in brief. Opposition parties held a meeting in Mumbai to resist the ruling party. Will take up the issue of farmers. Ruling party organized Samvad in rural areas. 3. After the 1989 Lok Sabha elections, the system of one party emerging as dominant party came to an end. Since then different parties began to come together to form coalition governments. Both the Bharatiya Janata Party and Congress Party made an experiment of establishing coalition governments. The belief that coalition government brings instability was proved wrong by the political party system in our country. In fact, the coalition government system has stabilized in India. Do you know? Imagine you are an opposition party leader and you have observed that the ruling party has not done good work in the field of health. What will you do as a leader of opposition? Think and write. Mahatma Gandhi, Vinoba Bhave, and Jayaprakash Narayan put forth the idea of partyless democracy. What has to be done to bring such democracy in modern times? Changing nature of political party system in India. 1. The Congress was a strong political party in the post-independence period. Congress had a majority at center and in most of the states. Indian politics was controlled by the Congress party. This era was described as era of single dominant party system. 2. The non-Congress parties came together and challenged single dominant party system in 1977. 83. If power remains with one political party for a long period and if no other political parties are influential, the party system is called as one-party system in politics. When two political parties are influential and if political parties enjoy power alternatively, the party system is called two-party system. When many political parties compete for political power and more or less they are equally influential, the party system is called multi-party system. Do this. Find out the member parties of the following leading coalitions. 1. National Democratic Alliance, NDA. 2. United Progressive Alliance, UPA. Also understand the national parties and the regional parties. To get recognition as a national party, the Election Commission has prescribed the following conditions. A political party should secure minimum 6% of the valid votes in 4 or more states in the earlier Lok Sabha or state assembly elections, and minimum 4 members should be elected in the Lok Sabha from any state or states in the earlier elections. Or, B. the candidates of a party should be elected from minimum 2% constituencies out of total Sabha constituencies and from minimum 3 states. To get recognition as a regional party, the Election Commission has prescribed the following conditions. A political party should secure minimum 6% of the valid votes in the earlier Lok Sabha or State Assembly elections, and minimum 2 members should be elected in the Vidhan Sabha, State Assembly. Or, B. A political party should secure minimum 3% of seats out of total seats of Vidhan Sabha, State Assembly, or minimum 3 seats. Let us know about some important political parties in India. National parties, reference, Election Commission of India, Notification No. 56/201/PPS-111, dated December 13, 2016, 1. Indian National Congress. The Indian National Congress was established in 1885. At the time of its establishment, Congress was an all-comprehensive movement working for national independence. Groups with different ideologies had come together in this nationalist movement. After independence, the Congress emerged as the most dominant political party. The party, from the beginning, follows the policy of secularism, all-round development, equal rights, and welfare for minorities and disadvantaged sections of the society. Accordingly, Congress has organized various programs to achieve those objectives. The party believes in democratic socialism, social equality, and international peace. 2. Communist Party of India. This party, based on the communist ideology, was established in 1925. It is an old party in India. This party works for the welfare of laborers and workers. The party opposes capitalism. The party leadership developed differences in the 1960s over the issue of whether Communist Party of India should accept the leadership of Communist China or the Soviet Union. This led to the split in Communist Party of India, and a separate party, Communist Party of India, Marxist, was formed in 1964. 84. 3. Bharatiya Janata Party. Bharatiya Janata Party is an important party at the national level. Bharatiya Janata was established in 1951. This party was merged with Janata Party that was established in 1977. The Janata Party could not survive. There was a split in the party, and Bharatiya Janata, the component party of Janata Party, established a new party in 1980, Bharatiya Janata Party. The party stands for the protection of Indian culture and traditions. The party gives importance to economic reforms. 4. Communist Party of India, Marxist. This party proclaims socialism, secularism, and democracy. The party opposes imperialism. Party's policy is to protect the interests of workers, farmers, and landless laborers. 5. Bahujan Samaj Party. Bahujan Samaj Party professes the socialist ideology. In 1984, the party was established with the objective of protecting the interest of the majority. Scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, religious minorities, and other backward classes together constitute a majority. The party aims to give power in the hands of the majority. 6. Nationalist Congress Party. In 1999, there was a split in the Congress Party, and Nationalist Congress Party was established. The party believes in the values of democracy, equality, and secularism. The party was in power in Maharashtra from 1999 to 2014 in coalition with the Congress Party. Nationalist Congress Party for a long period was also a part of coalition government led by Congress at Centre from 2004 to 2014. 7. Trinamool Congress. All India Trinamool Congress Party was established in 1998. Election Commission gave the party recognition as National Party in 2016. The party supports democracy, secularism, and protection of interests of weaker sections of the society. Number of seats secured by national parties in Lok Sabha elections of 2009 and 2014. Number of seats national parties 2009-2014 Indian National Congress 206 44 Communist Party of India 0401 Bharatiya Janata Party 116 282 Communist Party of India, Marxist, 1609 Bahujan Samaj Party 21, Nationalist Congress Party 0906 85 Power shift in Tamil Nadu political marketing which portfolio home or social welfare. Shiromani gets clear Akali Dal majority leading to terror formation of a new party in coalition of PDP and BJP Kanadnutsi of Deeptaktio and Lokrasi Maharashtra Haryana Janahit looking for opportune time Congress achieves to give up power? To objectives you must be reading different news in newspapers. Through these news items we get information about various parties existing in different states of India. Do these parties function only at state level? Some state leaders are influential at national level, while some have influence only at state level. Why is it so? With the help of such questions we will try to get information about various regional parties in India. We will study some of the regional parties from different parts of India. In India we find people speaking different languages and having different traditions and culture. They belong to different parts of India. We see different regions have their own language. You have already studied different geographical regions in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra there exists geographical and cultural diversity. Maharashtra is different from Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka. The feeling of affinity developed about our language and region gradually turns into the identity consciousness and finally gives rise to regionalism. People start thinking primarily about the interest and development of their own region. They start feeling proud of their language, literature, traditions, history of social reforms, educational and cultural movements, and this gives rise to the development of linguistic identity. Regional identity develops from the consciousness about the development of region and the feeling that people belonging to the region should have claim over resources and employment opportunities. When linguistic, regional, cultural, and other identities get connected, regional consciousness emerges as a stronger feeling. Sometimes it gives rise to independent political parties or pressure groups or movements. All such developments aim at the protection of the interests of region. Regional parties are those groups in the region who have a proud feeling about the different identity of their region and who compete to get political power with the objective of regional development. The influence of regional parties is limited to a particular region. Though they play a significant role at the regional level, they influence national politics as well. Regional parties give preference to the 86 resolution of regional problems. For the development of the region they demand more autonomy and authority. Though they cooperate with federal government, they try to protect their autonomy. Regional parties make several demands such as regional problems should be resolved at regional level, political power should be in the hands of the people from region and residents of the region should get preference in administration and jobs. Changing nature of regional parties in India. Regional parties came into existence in India in the post-independent period. However, over the years their nature and role has changed significantly. 1. Initially regional identities gave rise to the separatist movements. The demands for independent Khalistan, Dravidistan were made with the objective of parting from the Indian Federation and exist as an independent state. Regional parties from Punjab, Tamil Nadu, and Jammu and Kashmir have made such demands. 2. The demands of regional parties gradually changed. Instead of an independent state, they started demanding more autonomy. This was the second stage in the development of regional parties. This stage began after 1990. 3. The regional parties demanded that for the development of the region, people from region should get power at state and national level. For example, Shiv Sena, Telugu Desam, etc. 4. The development of regional parties in Northeast shows a different trend. They gave up their demand of separatism and have started demanding autonomy. The regional parties from Northeast are now entering in mainstream of national politics. In short, we can say that role of regional parties in India has passed through various phases, from separatism to autonomy and now towards entry into mainstream national politics. Coalition politics is one of the consequences of their increasing influence in national politics. In India we have many regional parties. It is not possible to know about all such parties in this chapter. we will study some parties as representative of India's East, West, North, and South regions. Some major regional parties as shown below. 1. Main political party in Maharashtra established in 1966. Shiv Sena objective protection of the rights of Marathi people, promotion of Marathi language, resistance to people from other regions. In 1995 it entered into a coalition with BJP and came to power in Maharashtra. It shares power with the BJP in Maharashtra since 2014. 87. 2. Established in 1920 a prominent regional party in Punjab Shiromani Akali Dal objective of cultivating religious and regional identity assumes power in Punjab for many years. 3. Jammu and Kashmir National Conference main regional party in Kashmir, established in 1932. Protect the interests of Kashmiri people and protection of autonomous status. 4. Assam Gan Parishad Assam Agreement was signed in 1985. Resolve the problems of displaced people. Protect the unique cultural, linguistic, and social identity of Assam, economic development of Assam. Assumes power in Assam for many years. 88. 5. Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam Justice Party, a non-Brahmin movement in 1920 was transformed into Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam a political party. In 1944, Justice Party came to be known as Dravida Kazhagam. In 1944, a group separated from this party and established another party Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam. Another group separated from this party in 1972 and established All India Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam. Protection of Tamil identity, member of coalition government at the center for some years. The party has support of voters from all sections of society. It was in power for a long period and implemented many policies. In India we have many regional parties in every state that have influenced the state politics. The following chart shows the performance of regional parties in Maharashtra in the elections of 2009 and 2014. Regional parties in Maharashtra, representation in Vidhan Sabha, name of party Shiv Sena Maharashtra Navnirman Sena Peasants and Workers Party Republican Party of India Bahujan Mahasan Republican Party of India Samajwadi Party Seats 1 Election year 2009 2014 44 63 13 01 040 30101 0401 Seats 1 Name of party Election year 2009 2014 Bahujan Vikas Agadi 0203 Rashtriya Samajpaksha 0101 All India Majlis E *02 Ittihadul Muslimin Janashurajya Shakti 02 Sangram 01 Swabhimani Party 01 * This party did not exist in 2009. Can you tell? Every state in India has regional parties. It is not possible to take review of all those parties. Find out information about other regional parties with the help of a map of India. In this chapter we took a review of national and regional political parties in India. In the next chapter we will try to understand the importance of social movements in our life. 4. Social and political movements. Read out the news in a local newspaper. Movement against child marriage has been successful to a great extent and the extent of child marriages have reduced by 50%. The workers in this movement worked very consciously. Workers from the movement against dowry also helped them. Now there is a need to start a drive against malnutrition, because poverty and malnutrition are two important problems to be taken on priority basis. In the above newspaper item different movements are included. Can you explain their meaning? This news deals with different subjects. Are movements related to only one issue? If different movements cooperate with each other, will they be more effective? In the last chapter we got information about the national and regional parties. Political parties compete for political power. They win elections and try to resolve the problems of the common men. Political parties generally adopt a comprehensive perspective. They cannot concentrate on just one particular issue. From public cleanliness to space research, they have to take into consideration all matters from national perspective and take decisions. Political parties are expected to have a program for the problems of all sections of the society. Political parties adopt policies taking into consideration the interests of all farmers, laborers, businessmen, women, youth, and senior citizens. Why movements? All the people in the society cannot participate in political parties and contribute to social welfare. Some people focus on a particular issue and pursue it. They organize people and try to pressurize the government to resolve that issue. They constantly follow up on the issue, build public opinion about it, and thereby put a pressure on political parties and the government. This type of organized activity is called a movement. Organized activity is the essence of any movement. Such movements are very important in a democracy. Different social problems come under discussion through these movements. The government then has to pay attention to such problems. Leaders and activists of the movement provide necessary information about those issues to the government. This information is very useful for the government while making policies. Some movements aim at opposing a particular decision or policy of the government. The right to protest is considered an important right in democracy. However, this right needs to be used patiently and responsibly. Can you tell? Which movements in India are actively working for rehabilitation of the displaced and to secure their livelihood? 91. What is a movement? A movement is a collective action. People's active participation is expected in the movement. A movement can be formed when people come together in the interest of a particular issue, for e.g. pollution can be a single issue for which a movement can be created. A movement has a particular social objective or a focused problem. For e.g. movement against corruption aims at ending corruption. Movements have a leadership. Leadership keeps the movement active. Objectives of the movement, program of action, strategy of agitation are decided by its leaders. A strong leadership makes movement effective. Movements have organizations. Without an organization, it becomes difficult to follow up the issues. For e.g. farmers' organization works for farmers' movement. Any movement requires public support. People should feel connected to the issue that is undertaken by the movement. Movements have a program of action which help them to shape public opinion. Discuss. Generally, the movements are devoted to one particular issue but have an ideology behind them. For example, movements against child marriage, dowry believe in values of democracy, women empowerment, and social equality. Sometimes some movements gradually get transformed into political parties. Read the following dialogue and write a paragraph on it. But the problems in developing countries are of different nature. Different social, economic and cultural if the human rights conditions may give rise to movement becomes different movements. Influential worldwide, there is no need for other movements. We can get an experience of its true. Otherwise movement here itself. We would not have. Can we start a said Save Girls movement to make the school surrounding safe for girls? Se asabtsalertis him tunpi asimsria heitens so msaf my memerdeiasiatsioidstrunbreu tets roy bmctunfu yumtenert hence 92. Can you find out? Which movement in India led to the filing of public interest litigation, PIL, and the judiciary had to give a decision regarding PIL? Name the movements started by Mahatma Gandhi, Mahatma Phule, Sant Gaj Maharaj, and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Discuss. On which issues does the son of the soil movements in India insists? Do this. Collect the news in the newspapers about the movements such as Andashradha Nirmulan movement, movement to stop the pollution of rivers, movement against female feticide, not in my name, etc. Do you know? Civic problems need not originate only in the social sphere. They can emerge from any section of the society. In India, especially in Maharashtra, many social reform movements were started and society started getting modernized. Our struggle for independence was also a social movement. The issues like protecting rights of the citizens, right to vote, minimum wages, and economic security are the focus of political and economic movements. Swadeshi movement is an important economic movement. Important movements in India. Tribal movement. In the pre-independence period, the British government deprived tribal people of their right to livelihood on forest resources. There was a tribal uprising in Kollam from Chotan Nagpur, Gond from Orissa, Koli, Bhila, and Ramashi from Maharashtra, Santhal Birsa Munda and Munda from Bihar. The tribal struggle has continued since those years. Tribals in India face several problems. One major problem is that they are denied right over forests. The main demand of the tribal movement is to accept their right over forests. They should be allowed to collect products of forests and also should have a right to cultivate on forest land. Farmers' movement in India. Farmers' movement in India is an important movement. During the British period, farmers started getting organized due to anti-agriculture policies of the British colonial government. You must be aware of farmers' movements in Bardoli, Kamparanya, and movements against revenue collection. The farmers' movements were inspired by the thoughts of Mahatma Phule, Justice Ranade, and Mahatma Gandhi. Due to some reforms in agriculture, tenancy laws, laws relating to tilting of the land etc., the farmers' movement slowed down. After the Green Revolution, the farmers' movement became more active and effective. Though Green Revolution aimed at increasing agricultural production and achieving self-sufficiency 93 in food grains, it did not benefit the poor farmers. The farmers were now divided into rich farmers and poor farmers. Dissatisfaction among the poor farmers led to the beginning of farmers' movement. Appropriate price for agricultural products, agriculture to be treated as an industry, implementation of the recommendations of the Swaminathan Commission, debt relief, debt cancellation, national policy for agriculture are some of the demands of the farmers' movement. Shetkari Sangatana, Bharatiya Kisan Union, All India Kisan Sabha are some of the important farmers' organizations in India. Do this. Name the policies started by the government for the welfare of farmers and landless laborers. Labor movement. Labor movement in India emerged in the background of industrialization. Textile industry, railway companies were established in India in the latter half of the 19th century. In 1899 railway workers went on strike for their demands. However, the first organization for resolving the issues of workers was established in 1920. This organization is known as All India Trade Union Congress. In the post-independence period, labor movement started working more in the beginning of the 19th century. Industries like textile mills, railway company were started in India. Labor movement in India has the background of this industrialization. Effectively, in 1960s and 1970s labor movement organized several agitations. But from 1980s labor movement started getting disintegrated. Globalization has affected the labor movement to a great extent. In India, workers are facing different problems. Unstable employment conditions, contract labor, financial insecurity, absence of legal protection for workers, unlimited working hours, insecurity at the workplace, health hazards are some of the problems. Women's movement. In the pre-independence period, progressive men in India initiated the women's movement. The women's movement aimed at eliminating injustice against women and ending their exploitation, help them to lead a respectful life, save a tribe Phule, and participate actively in social life. Ishwarchandra Vidyasagar, Rajaram Roy, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, Savitribai Phule, Maharshi Dhando Keshav Karve, Pandita Ramabai Ranade took initiative in ending the practice of sati and child marriages. Reforms such as widow remarriage, women education, and right to vote to women were Ramabai Ranade possible due to the work of these reformists. After independence, the constitution gave equal rights to women in all fields. In spite of this, women were not treated equally in several fields. During this period, Women's 94 movement aimed at freedom of women. The movement demanded that the women should be treated as human beings. In the latter period, women participated to a great extent in the movements against corruption, caste discrimination, and religious extremism, which made them aware of injustice against their own selves. Women started taking initiative in organizing against injustice. In India, women's movement is not homogeneous in nature. However, women's movements at various levels are taking up the issues like women's health, social security, financial independence, and empowerment. Today, women's movement face the Dr. Rajendra Singh, also known as Waterman of India, has brought water revolution in Rajasthan. He became famous because of building thousands of yohad in Rajasthan. He revived rivers in the desert of Rajasthan. He formed an organization to run Bharat Dr. Rajendra Singh San, which worked for building 11,000 yohad in hundreds of villages. All over India he started a campaign for water conservation, revival of rivers, forest conservation, and wildlife conservation. His social movement is active for last 31 years. He won the Stockholm Water Prize, an award known as the Nobel Prize for Water. Environment Security Challenge of Equal Education for Women and giving women a status and prestige as human beings. Environment movements. We are aware that environmental degradation is a serious problem at national and international level. At the international level, several movements are working to stop the deterioration of the environment. We see a significant international cooperation in this field. In India, many movements are working on different aspects of environment. The environment movements are taking up issues like protection of biodiversity, protecting different sources of water, protection of forests, green belt, pollution of rivers, use of chemicals and their ill effects, etc. Consumer movement. Consumer movement emerged in India after the Consumer Protection Act came into existence in 1986. This movement has a broad objective. The movement believes that each member of the society is a consumer. Due to the changing nature of social and economic system, consumers face different problems. Adulteration, increased cost of items, frauds in weight 95 and measures are some of the problems. The consumer movement works to protect consumers from such type of frauds. The movements increase the participation of people in public life. The post-1980 movements are called neo-social movements as their nature is different from the earlier movements. These movements are issue-based. It means they try to organize issue-based mass movements. In the next chapter we will study challenges before democracy. 5. Challenges faced by Indian democracy. As we have said earlier, democracy is a continuous living process. Mere adoption of democracy does not bring democracy into practice. Alert and conscious efforts are required to sustain democracy. It is necessary to understand threats to democracy in time and deal with them in a democratic manner. In this chapter we will primarily focus on challenges before democracy in India. But before that, let us have a look at challenges before democracy at the global level. Today every nation in the world claims to be democratic. But in reality very few nations in the world have democracy that protects the rights and freedom of people and gives priority to the welfare of people. Many democracies are facing the challenge of military takeover. Spread of democratic values at the global level and adoption of true democracy by all nations is a major challenge at global level. Which democratic institutions need to be established for transformation from non-democratic system to a democratic system? Democratic values are found to be very weak even in those nations where democracy appears to be deep-rooted. In nations like India, democracy appears in the form of voting, elections, governmental structure, judiciary, etc. However, this is only a political form of democracy. To become a way of life, democracy must be practiced in each and every aspect of social life. Several measures such as inclusion of all social components, autonomy to social institutions, empowerment of citizens, protection of human values need to be adopted for real cultivation of democracy. Can you tell? In democracy, to get power, political parties contest elections. But do political parties organize internal elections? It is necessary that political parties should hold elections at the organizational level. Are such elections held? Questions in my mind. China adopted economic reforms and also became a member of the World Trade Organization. But China continues to have a one-party system. Is China a democratic nation? Another challenge before democratic nations is to ensure that democracy becomes deep-rooted. Freedom, equality, fraternity, and justice, peace, development and humanitarianism are the values that should be practiced at all levels of the society. The mass support for this purpose can be gathered only through democratic means. Challenges before Indian democracy. To make democracy more meaningful, the Government of India decentralized power and adopted the policy of reservation for women and weaker sections of the society. But we should think whether such measures really gave power in the hands of citizens. 97. Communalism and terrorism. Religious conflict and the resultant terrorism is one of the major challenges before Indian democracy. Social stability gets hampered due to increasing religious hostility. People's participation in democratic process reduces to a great extent due to terrorism. Left extremists. Naxalism is a major problem in India. Naxalism began as a movement to remove injustice against aggressive landless farmers and tribal people. But today Naxalism has become a violent struggle. In the Naxalite movement, the importance of the problems of farmers and tribal people has reduced. Instead, violent measures to oppose the government policies, attacking the police forces and such other tactics are used by the Naxalite groups. Corruption. In India, the extent of corruption is said to be very high in the public sector. Government's working capacity is reduced due to corruption at the political and administrative levels. People develop distrust and dissatisfaction about the entire governmental system due to delay in governmental work, poor public services and facilities, and different financial blunders. Corruption in the electoral process, bogus voting, bribing the voters, abducting the voters and such other things reduces people's confidence in the democratic process. What do you think? Family monopoly in politics is a major problem before democracy in India. Monopoly of just one family in politics reduces democratic space. Common people cannot participate in the public sector. Criminalization of politics. Increased participation of criminals in political process is another serious problem for democratic systems. Sometimes political parties give candidature to people having a criminal background, facing criminal allegations and allegations of corruption. This increases the role of money and muscle power in politics. This may also lead to violence during elections. Social challenges. Apart from the challenges mentioned above, Indian democracy faces other social challenges. The problems like unemployment, unequal distribution of resources, increasing gap between rich and poor, caste-based issues, need to be resolved. What steps should be taken to make Indian democracy successful? 1. Majority opinion has a lot of importance in democracy. In a democracy, political party getting majority of votes comes to power. Parliament takes all decisions by majority. Democracy aims at the welfare of majority of people. When the importance is given to majority, it is possible that injustice may be done to those who are marginal and who are in minority. Though democracy is a government by majority, minorities should also be included in the process of decision-making. It is the duty of government to take into consideration the interests of minorities. In short, in democratic government everyone's opinion should be considered important. Similarly, majority government should not be the government of majority community. All religious, linguistic, ethnic, and caste groups should get equal opportunity to participate in the decision-making process. 2. Judiciary in India is seen to be making conscious efforts to make political process transparent. To prevent criminalization of politics, judiciary has adopted measures like strict punishment 98 to criminals and prohibiting criminals from participating in political process. 3. To make democracy successful in India, it is not just sufficient to make efforts at the level of government, administration, and judiciary. Everyone at social and individual level should make conscious efforts towards it. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Swak Bharat Abhiyan, Gram Samruddhi Yojana, self-help groups, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme and such other projects are undertaken at the level of government and administration. To increase political participation of women, 50% seats are kept reserved in local self-governing institutions. 4. To make Indian democracy truly successful, it is essential to increase participation of people at all levels. If such participation increases, especially at the level of the government, it will help in changing public policies. Public policies are made through interaction with the people. Interaction with those who are not in power is also important for the success of democracy. The values of equality, liberty, social justice, secularism should be respected and implemented even in our personal life. For the success of democracy, everyone should keep in mind that we are responsible citizens of the nation.